Hi everybody, I'm so happy to be here. I'm Fiona Cutts of Sex and the Shy Girl. And so this is one of my favorite things, talking about pleasure. So my point of view, we have these beautiful bodies, and don't worry if you don't think yours is beautiful. It is beautiful. We have these beautiful bodies. Let's enjoy them. So the title of my talk today is Claim Your Pleasure, Power and Presence in the Bedroom. 3 steps to go from shy girl to sexually confident woman. And I'm just going to start by just saying a little bit about what do I mean by shy girl. So shy girl is basically any woman who, for any reason at all, isn't able to be herself completely sexually, who hesitates for some reason with sex, who finds herself. So we can have the continuum from the person who, like me, was very shy with everything in my life, and particularly to do with sex. And I would hesitate and second guess myself and be afraid of going on a date, be definitely afraid of taking my clothes off, be afraid of everything around sex. And then there can be somebody who's just like, you know what, I'm pretty confident, but in this space, well, I lose my confidence. In this space with this type of person, and it's the type of person who I really fancy, I find that I can't be me. All of that is the territory that I'm going to be talking about. And we can become shy for all kinds of reasons. So it may be that, and this is a bit my case, it may be, so I'm from England, we don't really talk about sex in England. And you may remember there's that film, No Sex Please, We're British. So we didn't talk about sex or pleasure or bodies at all in my house. And I mean, I was actually born in the 60s, but there was no hint of the swinging 60s that came into my house or my family or my awareness. And yeah, all the people around me at the time were very similar. So it's like I learned at a very young age that sex was bad and wrong. And not that it was ever told to me, but it was in the vibe, it was in the air. So we can become shy because of that. Or it may be that you're what I call circumstantially shy. So there are a lot of women who write to me saying, you know what, Fiona, I'm now 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever it is. I got married or I was in a relationship and I expected it to last forever. Don't we all? Well, I guess that's the point of marriage. But you know, that space where we're totally in love, the sex is fantastic, everything's fantastic, we think it's going to last forever. And then 1 decade, 2 decades, or however long it is later, we're like, holy shit, I never thought I'd have to be sexual with another person. Funny the way I say that. I'd have to be sexual, but that's how it can appear in our minds. Oh my God, I've got to go through all that stuff again. And you may be in this space, and some of the ladies I work with are, oh, you know what? When I was last in the sex and dating game, it wasn't at all like it is now. And I'm however many years older, and my body is typically, we think, I mean, not me, I don't seem to put on weight, but typically we think our bodies have put on too much weight. We're too old, or if you're thinner like me, you know, we're scrawny, or whatever that is. We have these judgments of ourselves, and we kind of look back wishfully to the past. You know, I know when I was younger, I totally judged my body. But when I look at her now, I had a beautiful body and I didn't appreciate her. So that's possible as well, that we're in this space where we're currently judging what we are, feel we're not good enough, and go to that space of shyness. So I got into this work, and it's funny to call it work. It's like it's fun work. It's kind of play. I got into this work play of sexuality and conscious sex, and through actually severe illness. So when you're shy, you tend to live your life for other people. You tend to not have that sort of clearly defined sense of this is me, This is where I'm going in my life. This is what I'm going to have. And in terms of sex, this is me. This is the kind of sex I like. This is the kind of person I'd like to have. Let me see how I can make that happen. I mean, typically for shy girls, we don't go out and say, hey, I'm looking for this type of person. We actually wait to be asked. So it's like if there are this many people on the planet, actually we're losing the possibility of some of the great people for us because we're waiting for the people to ask us. And it may be only that number of people who's even going to think of asking us. So we're losing possibilities before we even start. Yeah, so where was I? I was, so I've completely lost where I was. So I was saying that I was shy with everything. And oh yeah, that's right. And so when you're being shy with everything, it's very hard you're not being you. And it turns out that when you're not being you, it creates all kinds of problems in your body. So I was living my life basically for my dad. I became an accountant. I worked in the corporate world, and the life I was living had nothing to do with me. And at a certain point, everything just collapsed. And I got the illness, chronic fatigue syndrome. And basically, I think that when we're not being us, and being shy is the total epitome of not being us. Shyness is a learned response. It's not really who we are. We may be sensitive. We may be quieter. I still can sometimes be that. I'm definitely sensitive. I can sometimes be quiet, sometimes be loud. But we may have that. But the shyness is a learned response. So when we're being shy, we're literally suppressing the possibilities in our body. And at some point, it's likely to end up in some kind of illness. And for me, it ended up with this severe illness, chronic fatigue syndrome. So for several years, I was scarcely able to do anything. And at first it was like, oh my God, this dreadful thing has happened to me. How am I going to get better? And after a couple of years, I was actually willing to look at, hey, what did I bring to this? How have I created this illness? And at that point, I was able to go on a journey of energy healing, where I started to find my voice, where I started to be able to express myself, where I started to find out what was true for me. And what was true for me wasn't at all being in the corporate world and being an accountant. It was something quite different and wilder and more fun, actually, for me. And so I discovered that I love to sing, I love to dance, I love to move. And the energy started to come back into my body as I started to explore these things, as I started to express myself. And so over the time of my energy healing course, I got completely better. And I mean, it's hard for me to say now, but it's like, because I don't see the world in these terms. But at the end of those 3 years, I was at this space of what I considered a normal amount of energy, a sort of a normal way of living. But doing the work play to wake myself up, I also became interested in sexuality. It's like, oh, I've got this energy. Now what am I going to do with it? And I remembered that when I'd been like a teenager, I remembered that I had this sense of something wondrous about our bodies. And our bodies can be wondrous and enjoyable and sensual when we're on our own, walking in the countryside, when we're on our own walking through a beautiful city. But of course, when we're with another person, I just had that sense of this exquisite physical connection and an exquisite mental and spiritual and emotional connection. I somehow knew that was true, even though as a teenager, of course, I had no actual experience of it. And you're probably aware of that, how we can know things without having experience of them. We can know things. Certainly, I definitely hadn't been told that, but I also didn't read about it. It was just a kind of a sense that I had. And so as my body started to wake up through all the healing, I was like, oh, okay, I remember this. I remember what's possible. And I started to look for having that in my life. And that took me on a journey to train as a sexological body worker. It took me on a journey of going to a lot of tantra retreats and massage things and sacred sexuality things, and just exploring my body and exploring how my body liked to be touched and all that kind of yummy stuff. And yeah, I totally enjoyed it, and it totally woke me up. And at a certain point, I realized that this is what I wanted to do with other people. So I'm going to go now into the 3-step framework to go from shy girl to sexually confident woman. But before I do that, I'd just love to give you a kind of a sense of, so for some of you, if you're really shy, you may not at all feel in touch with what I'm saying. You may not feel in touch with these sexy, yummy possibilities with your body. And so I'm going to invite you just on a very, very, very short exercise. And if you're sitting at home, you can just shut your eyes if you'd like to. If you're out and about, that's also great, because you can you can use being out and about to help the exercise. But obviously, don't shut your eyes if you're driving or something like that. So what I'm going to ask you to do, I'm going to ask you to get the sense of someone who you're really sexually attracted to. So here's the thing: if you're out and about, just keep your eyes open. Who is it? What kind of person do you like? Do you see them? And don't worry if you're shy. It's not that the next step is to go up and say to them, hey, I fancy you. Hello, how about it? It's not that at all. It's just to get a sense of, just to get to reconnect with that feeling of, oh, I like you. Oh, I like you. So just see if you can get a sense. So if you're at home, just get a sense of somebody you know who you fancy. And if that's hard for you, don't worry. Just ask for that person to come. And now, in the privacy of your own mind, probably with your eyes shut, I'm going to ask you to imagine, what would you like? Oh, my body moves. My body jumps when I'm about to say something yummy. So what would you like this person in your fantasy to do to you? What would you like to do to this person? Just see what that is. And this is the privacy of your own mind. So there's no limitations, no person telling you can't do or have or whatever. Just go. And just see how that is. And if you're feeling a bit naughty, you're on the right track. So shy girls can kind of not be naughty. So if you're feeling a bit naughty, you're on the right track. And my invitation for you is to turn it up. My invitation for you is to turn it up anyway. If you're not feeling naughty, just turn it up. What would you like this person to do? What would you like? How can you make it hotter in your own mind, in the privacy of your own mind? How can you make it hotter? And we're going to leave it at that for now. We don't have so much time to go further with that, but just see how that was for you. Has it reawakened something that you thought maybe couldn't be reawakened? Or are you like, oh, that's a bit blank? Or you like, hey, I like this. I am often feeling sexy and I like the chance to feel sexy. Doesn't matter what that is for you. Just whatever it is, enjoy it. And now let's let it go. So let's come now into the 3-step framework to go from shy girl, so to go from the girl who hesitates with sex, the girl who feels awkward around sex, or maybe the woman who's been in a relationship with the same person for so long that she can't imagine being sexual with someone else, and it brings up all that kind of teenager stuff about, oh, how am I going to do this? So how to go from that shy girl to the woman who's able to say, hey, this is me. This is who I am sexually. This is what I like. This is the type of person I like. This is what I like in bed. And just notice, it's like as I'm speaking, just notice if this brings up stuff for you, if you're like, oh, I don't think I'll ever get that, or I don't know if it's like, it's very common for some of the women who work with me or who are in my Facebook group to be in that space of, I don't know if I ever even want to have sex again. It's like I kind of do, but it seems like so much hassle. And it can feel like that. It can feel like a hassle to get to know someone new. It can feel like a hassle, I don't know, to shave our legs and to look beautiful. And it's like, what if none of that was true. So just going to ask you now, as before I go into this 3-step framework, let's just all do this. Let's just become aware of our feet on the ground, our bottoms on the chair where we're sitting, our backs on the backrest. Just become aware of those 3 points and take a deeper breath. And just allow yourself to be present with this subject that a lot of people find hard to be present with, sex. Okay, so the 3-step framework. So I'll give you the 3 steps. So the first step is foreplay, unsurprisingly maybe, but maybe surprising when you hear the content of foreplay. So the first step is foreplay. The second step is me play. And the third step is us play. And so we start with foreplay. And foreplay is actually about, in this context, is about you and your body. So sometimes, so I'm on other sex coaches' mailing lists. And sometimes what I see is that I sign up for the mailing list and it's suddenly like, I mean, I'm exaggerating, but you'll get the sense of what I'm saying. It's suddenly like 73 positions to have the 10,000 best orgasms of your life. That's the first email. And then the second email is, I don't know, how to turn him on in this, and this. And so it's right in there with the sex, with the orgasms, with all of that stuff. And believe me, I love all of that stuff. But actually what I see is that in order to have good sex, we need to be present with our bodies. So, of course, sex is about the body. And when I think about when I first started having sex, so I was 17 and I actually had sex with this boy or this young man who was 19. And I can see so clearly now that I wasn't really inhabiting my body. I didn't have a good communication with my body. So at this point in my life, 17, I had a very beautiful body, but I just wasn't connected with her. And that actually continued and was part of the reason that I got ill. And in a way, my illness journey was helping me to come back into my body, helping me to be connected to my body. So although sometimes the women I work with are kind of disappointed, they want to go straight to the play with their partner or potential partner, this part of the work is really, really important. So I give the ladies who work with me, and this is similar to the journey that I went on, I give the ladies that I work with exercises to help them be in touch with their bodies. And I can give you some examples of the types of things that we do, and some of them are quite sexy and sensual, and some of them actually aren't at all. So one of the exercises that I give the ladies, and which actually you can try yourself, is to just at the beginning of every day, just ask yourself, hey, body, what would you like to wear today? And just see what response comes. So I did this 5 minutes before I jumped on here, and my body was like, oh, I'd like to wear that long black dress. And so here I am, I'm in the south of Ecuador, in the sort of deep forest countryside, wearing this black dress because my body wants to wear this black dress. And earlier in the day, I was just wearing jeans and a t-shirt. It's gone a bit cooler, and so my body was like, "Oh no, we don't want to wear a dress. Let's wear something that can still look sort of pretty sexy and fun, but is warmer, because actually I need to be warmer today." And so if you're anything like me, when I first heard this, I would have had no idea to tune in to what my body wanted to wear. And my idea, definitely as a 20-something, was to always look as sexy as possible, whilst not really being able to receive the attention that came from looking that way. It's like I kind of wanted the attention, but I couldn't really let it in because I was so out of touch with my body. And maybe some of you can relate to that kind of wanting to be thought to look hot and fantastic, but at the same time not really being able to receive that. So I would suggest that it's a question of just trial and error, just seeing when so you could be like, okay, hey body, would you like to? So for me, I just had a sense of the black dress, but it may have been for me today. Oh, I'm not quite sure. So let me try on the black dress. Okay, body, how do you feel in the black dress? Do you feel good in the black dress today? Oh, yes, I do feel good in the black dress today. That's the dress that I want to wear on this live stream. Okay, let's go. And so when the live stream ends and I'm going for a walk in the village, probably, almost certainly, I'll wear something different. And actually, I'm wearing, as I said, I'm in the middle of the countryside, and basically I've got sandals and trainers, but I've got these shoes with this tiny heel, and I'm like, oh, I'll wear my shoes with the tiny heel. None of you can see them, but it kind of makes my body feel good. So just check in, hey, what feels good for my body today? And it's likely to be that it's different every day. Or you might be, it's like I had a time in my life where I never wore skirts and dresses. It was a time when I was a kind of I was like a climber and, or not a climber, I was hiking and trekking. And actually this is just before I got ill. And in my head, I was like, oh, I'm doing so well for my body. I'm doing all this exercise. Everything's going to be fine as I get older. But actually, I wasn't really in touch with my body. I never asked my body if she wanted to go hiking. Never asked my body if she wanted to wear rather sexless hiking clothes. I just did it because I'd read that it was good. So I suggest kind of trial and error. Hey, body, what would you like to wear today? I also suggest that with food. I suggest 2 questions with food. What would you like to eat today? And would you like to eat anything? So a lot of us, and maybe I'm talking to people who are, who know more about this than I did years ago, but it's like I was definitely brought up with breakfast as soon as you got up, lunch at this time, dinner at this time, and probably a snack or 2. Does your body really want all that food? Does your body want to eat as soon as she gets up in the morning? Does she? I mean, mine often does, but I don't tend to eat after, say, 4 or 5 in the evening. What does your body like? What does your body want to eat? How much does your body want to eat? We often put too much food into our bodies. Or you may know that you're the other way around, that you kind of have a tendency to kind of slightly starve your body. What kindness could you be for your body with the food that you're giving her? So these are ways that we can start to come into contact with our bodies. You can also ask your body, hey, how would you like to exercise? So I've recently started running and going to a gym, things that I've never, ever, ever done in my life before. So you get to 60 and you choose things that you never chosen before. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And I really didn't used to like running. And well, I think I've been in a gym once or twice before in my life, but never for very long. And I love the idea of being stronger. And it's not just that I love the idea, my body feels good afterwards, and I feel more in touch with my body afterwards. Other things I suggest you do is being out in nature, being barefoot in nature, if you can be barefoot in nature. All of that will bring you back to you. It will bring you back to who you truly are in your body. And that sense of connection with your body, that it kind of brings us into a loving of our body as well. And that is like I was talking earlier, particularly as we get older, we get to the point where we're kind of like, oh, I'm too fat, I'm too thin, I'm too old, I'm too this, I'm too that. And actually that kind of loving connection with our body has little to do with how our body looks. So I used to have a kind of one version of a perfect body on this planet. I did not love her. I truly did not love her. As I've got older and I no longer have that perfect body, I'm so much more in touch with my body. And when you're in touch with your body, that's when you can feel more pleasure. If you're not in touch with your body, how can you feel pleasure? And of course, I had a young body, so I did feel some pleasure, or quite a lot of pleasure. But it's like now there's a different quality to it. It's like there's a kind of I'm way more in touch with my body and the pleasure that's possible. So that's the beginning. That's foreplay. Foreplay in a way you never knew before. And one of the other things that gets created with foreplay and the next stage, or in fact all the stages, but I'm just getting to talk about this now. One of the things that gets created by spending the time asking your body, hey, what would you like to eat? What would you like to wear? And by the way, who would you like to have sex with? It's like, ask your body. Oh, your head can be like, oh, I want to have sex with that hot guy who looks cool, and all the girls will be jealous of me because I'm with him. Ask your body, is that kind of person likely to be kind? Are they likely to touch you with kindness? Your body will tell you. Your body will know the sort of person who's likely to touch you with kindness, who's likely to be kind to you, who's likely to be kind when they're inside you. Okay. So by spending this time finding out what our body desires, we're actually also stepping into that space where we're truly starting to love our bodies. It's an act of kindness, spending time every day, checking in with our bodies. It's an act of kindness to spend time in nature. It's an act of kindness to see, hey, what kind of exercise would I like to do today? Oh, it's different from what it was yesterday. Of course it's different. Every day we're different. Every day our bodies are different. What if you could be so present that you started to notice the nuances of what your body actually desires? And that is kindness. And that kindness to you, it starts to radiate out into the world. It's like that space of, oh, I'm shy. I don't know what I'm doing. I definitely don't know what I'm doing with sex. It's kind of a hesitant, awkward space. But when you spent some time getting to know your body, getting to know what she likes, that starts to radiate out into the world, and you start to attract a different type of person. You start to, if you're being kind to you, you're very likely to attract a person who's being kind to them and who will be kind to you too. So this work, this 3 steps, is multi-layered. So that's foreplay. And this kind of kindness theme continues into the next part. So the next part I call me play. So me play is also about yourself and your own body. It doesn't involve another person yet. And if you think about it, this kind of makes sense. So I know a lot of people listening here are on strong self-development paths. So whichever part of our life we look at, actually, it has to be about us first. Even if it's a more external part of our life, like having sex with another person, actually, we have to look at ourselves first. We have to be in touch with ourselves. We have to have some sense of being in our bodies, of liking our bodies, before we can actually have good sex. So this next part, me play, is actually about, so the most straightforward, direct way that I can explain to you what it's about is that it's mindful masturbation. And so having said the masturbation word, I'm now going to ask you to let go of it entirely, because masturbation, in the main, maybe not for all of you, but in the main, it gets a bad rap. It's something that we learn to do when we're younger, tends to be quick and kind of dirty in a way. And if that's not your experience, then I apologize for putting it like that. But for a lot of us, it is. It's something we're told that it's wrong, and yet we truly want to do it because it feels so yummy. So there's a kind of that conflict. And masturbation tends to be very much about the genitals. It's like it tends to be, oh, let me give myself a quick orgasm and get on with life. Or I'm feeling stressed, let me give myself an orgasm and get on with life. It used to be like that for me. And I was able to give myself an orgasm very, very quickly. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But what I am saying is that there's something that's greater for your own body, which in turn creates something greater when you're with another person. So So when I was at Sexological Bodywork Training School, we called it orgasmic yoga meditation. And this is the space where there are different exercises that invite you to get to know your own body sexually and sensually. So, and I'll give you a quick example. I mean, there are many, many different types of this meditation, but one of the ways that you're invited to come to this space of finding out what's true for you with sex and sensuality is to literally find a space where you won't be disturbed. And you may want to have a candle, you may want to have some sweet music playing, you may want to have some incense, whatever that is for you. And start off just by taking some deeper breaths. And if you're lying down or sitting down, just sinking into the bed or the chair. And just taking some time to let go of what you've been doing. And the invitation is quite simply to just start touching different parts of your body and all of your body. And you may do this naked or clothed, it's up to you. You just start experimenting with touching your body. And I'm naturally touching very lightly here. It might be that I want to squeeze my body. My body actually does like being squeezed. Or you may want to have firmer touch, or you may want to slap a bit. Just see, what is that for you? How would each part of your body want to be touched? And really, really spend some time. And I suggest at the beginning, not touching your breasts, not touching your genitals, just touching other parts of your body. And just really, I'd suggest really slowing down with it. And just spend the time that feels right for you. It's like sometimes I just spend like 5 minutes. Okay, I've got 5 minutes. Let me just check in with my body. Or you might want to spend an hour and spend some really, really delicious time just really touching your body and just noticing, oh, that's a part that I didn't know was so pleasurable. Oh, who knew that that part could be an erogenous zone? Oh, I remember now, that person years ago touched me there and it was so yummy, and it still is, even if I'm doing it myself. Just see what that is for you. And it may be different on different days. And then if you'd like to, then give yourself an orgasm and just notice as you give yourself an orgasm, maybe in the same way as you normally do, or you may find that you touch yourself differently just because you spent some time waking up the whole of your body. Just notice, is there a different quality to that orgasm? And it's quite common that even if but if you're giving yourself a clitoral orgasm in the way that you normally do, and I'm speaking here to women, so I work with ladies. So if you're giving yourself a clitoral orgasm in the way that you normally do, just notice, does it involve more of your body? Now that you've woken up the whole of your body, does that clitoral orgasm actually affect more of your body? And it's really, really common when we start to do these exercises, and there are way more exercises than just this, but when we start to do these exercises, that the orgasms that we experience on our own can be longer and stronger and deeper and kind of involve all of our body and in a way, some of our psyche, and I can't quite explain that, but it's like our emotions, even when we're on our own, it can feel kind of more complete. That's my experience of it. Right, and I hope that this sort of finding words for something like this can sometimes be difficult, but I hope you get a sense of what I'm talking about. So this is the me play. And again, actually spending time finding out what's true for you, finding out what's true for your body, finding out which parts of your body love to be touched in a certain way, finding out all of that. It's actually a kindness to you and your body. It's a continuation of that process of actually starting to fall in love with your body, starting to fall in love with you. And that's the opposite of the shy girl experience, who's so awkward, who's so shy, who really actually doesn't like herself much. That's the bottom line of shyness. It's like that and you're not wrong if you feel stuck in shyness. And when you look at that, you're like, oh, it's true. Actually, I don't really like myself very much. You're not wrong if you're in that space. It's like when I look at the way that I was brought up, I was told that I amounted to nothing, that I was stupid and bad at a load of stuff, that I was ugly, that I was fat, that I was thin. I was told all that stuff. And it's like when we're little, we just take all of that on. We're sponges. But then we start to talk to ourselves in that way. We develop this shyness, and really it's about not liking ourselves, not appreciating ourselves. So all of these steps will start to reverse that. We'll start to, and it also puts us in the space of, you know what, this pleasure, it's worth spending time on. It's worth spending, I don't know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour a day, just spending some time with myself, finding out what's true for me, giving myself pleasure. It's worth doing that because I'm worth it. And what it also does is it starts to break down judgments. I mean, if you're spending time touching yourself and finding out what's true for you, some of that stuff that you were told about sex when you were younger will automatically start to disappear. It's almost like we're creating this intimacy with our body, this sexual and sensual intimacy with our body, and some of those judgments that we had from the past, which weren't ever anything to do with us, but were put on us and we kind of took on because we just did, some of those will start to melt away. And that also helps with the process of becoming a confident woman sexually. And I say confident woman sexually, this will impact the whole of your life. We're not compartmentalized, but one of the things that tends to happen with sex is like typically for people is that they have their lives and sex is over here. And what we're doing here is making sexuality and sensualness a part of your life. And so as you start to become more confident with sex, actually you're becoming more confident with everything. You're more in touch with your body. You'll walk differently down the street. People will notice you, and everything can change. So we now come to the third part, which is us play. So us play is the space where you're actually, get this, you're actually with another person. And so by the time you've done all this work on yourself, you're in a space where you know what you like sexually, you know what you like sensually, you've let go of a load of the judgment. And one of the things that can be really, really strong for shy girls is like, oh, on many levels, if I ask this person out, or if I make it clear to this person that I like them, they may reject me. If I ask for this particular thing that I like sexually, they may reject me, they may say no. And that can feel awful when you're shy. It can feel like the worst thing in the world to actually dare to put yourself out there. And some of this advice that you can get if you're shy, oh, just do it anyway, you'll be fine. And by the way, I don't believe that. But it's like just that thing, just do it anyway. But then it's like, bam, the person says no, and you're devastated and you hide away for another decade because you're not going to face that, you're not going to risk that again. What happens once you've done all this work on yourself in the first two steps is that if you put yourself out there, if you say to someone, hey, you want to come on a date? Or if you say to someone, hey, you know what? I know we haven't done this in bed before, but I'd really like to try this. And the person may say no. The thing is that someone can only reject us if we can only feel rejected by someone else if we're rejecting us. So actually nobody else can reject us. So if somebody says that to us, oh, actually no, I'm not interested in you. And actually I just had a brief affair with somebody, and then they said, you know what, actually they ended it. And I was like, it didn't impact on me and how I view myself as a person. It was just, oh, okay. Maybe he's right. It was kind of that, and it had very little effect on me. And so this is what can happen when someone, for some reason, says no. When we're clear about who we are, it doesn't have any devastating effect of us. So when we're not rejecting us, when we're loving us, nobody else can reject us. So that's one of the things that changes in our communication. We're more willing to put ourselves out there. And here's the thing, if we don't ask, we're unlikely to get. And sometimes you can have these amazing sexual relationships where you just somehow seem to amazingly know what the other person wants, and it all flows and it's all yummy and it's all delicious. And I wish that for you. And often there does need to be some dialogue at some point, either before, during, after, whatever works for you. I don't think there's a right or a wrong with that, but often there needs to be some more explicit talking about the experience. And even that can feel wrong. Talking about our sexual experience can feel like it's wrong. It's like, it can feel like if we're well suited, we should be able to just go for it and it's great. So actually, if you've done the work of getting to know what's true for you and you truly value you, it becomes way easier to say that to the other person. If you've been playing with yourself and discovering what's true for your body, it can turn sex into this space where you're with another person, just kind of playing and exploring. So in the same way as you've been exploring your body, you explore the body of the person you're with. They explore your body. And it takes sex away from this space of kind of, oh, if I touch her here, if I touch her there, then she'll be ready and then I can come and then she can come, or whatever. Maybe you've had sex like that. I know I used to sometimes in the past. It takes it away from that climax focused space into this space of, oh, let's explore. And it comes what I like to call orgasmic. So it's like, it may not be a climactic orgasm, but the mutual exploration of each other without so much of a goal. Because if you're actually enjoying exploring, then the climax is less important. And I love climactic orgasms. I'm not saying don't go for them. But what I am saying is, like, enjoy the process there. And for us with female bodies, often the longer we spend on the way there, the longer and deeper and yummier the orgasm is. It's like, as we know, our bodies are wired differently from men's bodies. And if you're listening to this and you can orgasm quickly, great. There's no right or wrong. All of our bodies are different, but it tends to be that we require longer. And that's another great thing. It's like, as we become more empowered, we're more willing to ask for that, for actually what we require. So I think that's everything that I'd like to say about the 3-step process to reclaiming your pleasure, your power, and your presence in the bedroom. But what I would love to offer any of you who are listening now, I'd love to offer you an example from the me play. So that when I was talking about how we can get in touch with our own bodies, how we can find out what's true for us sexually and sensually with our own bodies, I'd love to offer you an audio which I call whole body pleasure. And so you can see here the link to download the audio, and I think the link to download it is also going to be under this video. So please go ahead and do that, and enjoy the audio. It's like, as I said, it's truly this space, and it's called whole body pleasure. So all of the work I do, in a way, is about coming away from that genital focus and stepping into actually enjoying the whole of our bodies. And with that, we can start to enjoy the whole of our lives. So it's like everything in our lives becomes more sensual, more sexual, more enjoyable, more yummy. And that's what so the audio can open you up to that. And it also tells you what's true for you, so that when you are actually with your partner, with your lover, with your husband, you can have more of what's true for you with another person. So that's everything for today. Thank you so much for listening. It's a total pleasure to be here. And I mean, I love this stuff. As I said at the beginning, I just truly feel that we have these bodies for a reason. And so what if whatever you're judgment of you. However shy you feel, however old, however young, however thin, however fat, whatever your judgment of you is, it's not too late to really step into the pleasure that's possible with these bodies.